Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I was thinking yesterday evening what to speak about in front of such an august assembly of Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, and I immediately thought of your beautiful deities, your Radha Krishna deities. I've traveled the world over and over again, around, and I've seen many deities, but always these deities come to my mind. They're so beautiful. You're so blessed to be serving your lotus feet. And naturally we're taught when we come before the Lord that our gaze is first at his lotus feet, and then gradually our gaze goes upwards to his lotus face. So I haven't had opportunity to take darshan because I came in and now I'm looking the other way, but I'd like to speak about the lotus feet of your deities with your permission today. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 6. This is verse 7. The demigods are speaking. Our dear Lord, advanced mystic yogis, striving for liberation from the severe bondage of material work, meditate with great devotion upon your lotus feet within their hearts. Dedicating our intelligence, senses, vital air, mind, and power of speech to your Lordship, we demigods now bow down to your lotus feet. Om Agyan Timidandasya Ginam Gina Shalakaya Chakusunamitam Jena Tasmai Siddhave Sri Chaitanya Maro Bishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Shwayam Rupa Kadamayam Vedanti Svara Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama. So in this particular verse of Grantharaj, Srimad Bhagavatam, we say Grantharaj often because Grant in Sanskrit means book or shastra, and Raj means king. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the king of all the many scriptures we have in this great country of India, because it's Amala Puran. It deals only with pure devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the Param Gatim of every devotee, to go back home, back to Godhead, back to Vaikuntha, but beyond Vaikuntha, to Goloka Vrindavan. It's the topmost planet in the spiritual world. In the realm of Vaikuntha, there's unlimited spiritual planets where the Lord resides with his various devotees in different humors or different moods, but Goloka Vrindavan is the topmost, because there one can have a very loving, intimate relationship with the Lord. Some of our acharyas, they refer to Vaikuntha as the official kingdom of God, but Goloka Vrindavan is where one can be with Krishna in a very personal way. So they say that Goloka Vrindavan is the playground of God, and that's our ultimate goal. So in this verse, the devatas are actually praising Krishna in Dwarka, and the very first thing they do, these devatas, is to glorify his lotus feet. That's interesting, because generally when you want to flatter someone, you don't praise their feet. But Krishna's feet are not ordinary, they're extraordinary. And throughout our Shastras, the glories of Krishna's feet, their beauty, their fragrance, their flavor, are glorified again and again by our great acharyas. For example, in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's described that when the four Kumaras met Lord Krishna at the gates of Vaikuntha, I'm sure most of you are familiar with that pastime, the darshan just of his lotus feet had an overwhelming effect on them. Just to see the divine lotus feet, the four Kumaras were overwhelmed. Chapter 15, verse 43 of the third canto says, when the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead entered the nostrils of those great sages, they experienced a change both in body and in mind, even though they were attached at that point to the impersonal Brahman understanding. They were elevated from the Brahman understanding to becoming pure devotees just by smelling the breeze that passed by the toes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So just from that one pastime mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, we can appreciate that the Lord's feet are very special. So special that actually we all know the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, she spends much of her time at those lotus feet. We often see, isn't it, paintings of Lakshmi Devi? She's massaging the Lord's lotus feet. In fact, those lotus feet of Krishna are so full of nectar that even Krishna himself is fascinated by his lotus feet. What? Just consider. His feet are so full of nectar that even Krishna himself is fascinated by his lotus feet. We've all seen that famous painting of Krishna floating on the banyan leaf, sucking his toe. He's sucking his toe. And the acharyas explain that this is because Krishna is wondering, what is it about his feet that make him so attractive to his devotees? So what is it? Well, those soft lotus feet are all attractive. So soft and attractive that the people of Braj, the people of Vrindavan, the Brajavasis, they become concerned what will happen to Krishna when he walks barefoot through the forest of Vrindavan and the small pebbles hurt his feet. The Brajavasis are very concerned. They love Krishna, they love everything about Krishna, and they're always meditating on his lotus feet. So when he goes to herd the cows in the morning, the Brajavasis are very worried. What will happen to those two lotus feet? In fact, one time Mother Yashoda, she chastised Krishna. Krishna, you should wear some padukas. You should wear some wooden sandals when you go to the forest because your soft lotus feet may get pricked by the thorns or by the pebbles. And Krishna said, Maya, no way. No way I'm going to wear padukas. No way I'm going to wear shoes. But Lala, please, you're hurting the cows. So Krishna said, I love my cows so much. They don't wear shoes, Maya, so why should I wear shoes? Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Krishna is famous as a cowherd boy. He loves his cows so much. He loves brahmanas, no Brahmanya Devaya. He loves the cows and he loves the brahmanas. But if we look at his Leela in Goloka Vrindavan, he's spending most of his time with the cows. He goes out all day in the early morning, herds the cows in the pastures of Vrindavan, and he comes back late in the afternoon, and maybe he'll offer some blessings to a few brahmanas, but he spends most of his time in Govinda with the cows. And the gopis, Krishna's greatest lovers, they're in so much anxiety that they worry when they place Krishna's lotus feet upon their chest that his lotus feet may be, that their chest may be too hard for the softness of the Lord's lotus feet. And why do we refer to them as lotus? Many times when I'm traveling in Western countries and I refer to the lotus face of the Lord, the lotus feet of the Lord. People in the West, they say, well, why lotuses? Why are they called lotus feet? I mean, we're used to that term, isn't it? Lotus feet. But you go to America, you go to Canada, Mexico, Argentina, you say lotus feet. Like, why are you calling them lotus feet? Why are Krishna's feet compared to lotuses? Because they're soft like lotus flowers. They're beautiful like lotus flowers. And they have a little pink color to them, as do lotus flowers. You always see the lotus flowers bluish, but there's some pink there. So Krishna's feet are compared to lotus flowers because they have that pinkish nature. Even Krishna's toenails are compared to the petals of a lotus flower. Regarding Krishna's lotus feet, Queen Kunti, in her famous prayer in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 8, text 22, she says, Nama pankancha nabhaya, nama pankancha maline, nama pankancha netraya, namaste pankancha. My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with the depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses. Now, a devotee, hearing this talk might lament that those divine lotus feet are only available at the gates of Vaikuntha, because we heard that 4 Kumaras came and they were liberated actually from the concept of the impersonal Brahman, to become God. Just some breeze was coming by, and it passed by the toenails of the Lord, and by selling that, they became Vaishnavas, devotees of Krishna. So one lament, well, I also want to become elevated to the stage of pure devotional service, but I can't go to the gates of Vaikuntha and smell that intoxicating breeze. But no, those lotus feet are available to all devotees. How so? Well, in a bit of an esoteric way, in discussing the glories of our Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam, our acharyas say that the first 2 cantos of the Bhagavatam are compared to Krishna's lotus feet. If you go from the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, up to the 12th canto of Bhagavatam, those different cantos represent different parts of Krishna's Vigraha, Satchidananda Vigraha. His form is not mundane material elements, but made of Satchidananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So the Bhagavatam, which is completely spiritual in and of itself, the different cantos represent the different parts of the Lord's body. And as we start with the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we learn about Krishna. We focus on Krishna by studying 1st canto, then 2nd canto, then 3rd canto. 9 cantos before we actually go into the Lord's playful pastimes in Vrindavan in the 10th canto. We begin at the beginning. So when we come for darshan to your beautiful deities, you first look at his feet. You first look at his divine feet, and then you sit down and you hear from Srimad Bhagavatam. So the first 2 cantos of Bhagavatam are compared to the feet of the Lord. So don't lament. I can't go to Vaikuntha, the gates of Vaikuntha, and smell the breeze coming over the toes of the Lord to become a pure devotee. I can sit daily, and beginning from the 1st canto and 2nd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that's compared to having darshan with the Lord. And we can also have darshan of those lotus feet from the beautiful deities. The deities of Radha and Krishna, the deities of Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman, the different expansions of the Lord, we can actually come and see, because those deities are not different than the Lord. As that Brahmana boy we hear in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when the Brahmana boy came back to Vrindavan to ask Shakshi Gopal to act as a witness to a trial that was taking place in Orissa. He said to the Lord, "My dear Lord, you are not a statue. You are directly the son of Maharaj Nanda. So you please come and stand witness for me in Orissa." And the Lord said, "How I can come? I'm a deity. How can I walk?" The boy said, intelligent young Brahmana, "Lord, if you can talk, you can walk. So you come with me and stand as my witness." So when we're coming to the temple and we're seeing the deity, that is our understanding. My dear Lord, you are not a statue. You are directly the son of Maharaj Nanda, and I get the darshan of your lotus feet. So bowing down to those lotus feet is very important. Krishna stresses in Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? Chapter 9, I think it's text 14, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantasta vidavartaha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upashate. I can see some of you are chanting that verse. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. What are we bowing down? As we bow down, what do we see? The Lord's lotus feet. When you're bowing down, we have no problem bowing down to the Lord. There's that song, "Bow down, Mr. Hare Krishna." We don't mind bowing down, because when we bow down submissively, humbly, what do we see? His lotus feet. And by gazing at those lotus feet, we can get the same blessings as did the four Kumaras by smelling the breeze that went over those lotus feet. So bowing down before me, these great souls, Krishna says in the Gita, perpetually worship me with devotion. And this bowing down to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and his associates, it's been going on since time immemorial. I was reading just the other day in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that when a number of Brahmas, Lord Brahmas, from different universes, entered Krishna's room, you know this pastime in Dwarka, what was the first thing they did? They all offered him obeisances with their millions of crowns touching the ground. It created, it's described, a tumultuous crashing sound. And Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 2, verse 21 confirms, referring to this pastime, when all the devotees came to see Krishna. All those Brahmas came from different universes. Smaller universes, bigger universes. So to rule or to do their seva in those particular universes, they had different numbers of heads. Our Lord Brahma only has 4 heads, because this is a small universe. But there's some universes where Brahma is doing his seva there. He has thousands of heads. So all these Brahmas came to see Lord Krishna in Dwarka, and entering into his chambers, they bowed down, and it made a tumultuous crashing sound. So Bhagavatam 3:221 describes that moment. This is real history. We're not interested in mundane history of this world. It's all quite depressing. But this is the real history that we're interested in. Purana means the ancient history of this creation. So that moment's described. Lord Sri Krishna is the Lord of all kinds of threes and is independently supreme by achievement of all kinds of fortune. He is worshipped by the eternal maintainers of the creation, Lord Brahma, who offer him the paraphernalia of worship by touching their millions of helmets to his feet. So we want to follow in their footsteps, these great personalities. By bowing down to the feet of the Lord, those lotus feet touched their heads, and they were benedicted. Now, besides the 4 Kumaras, there's another example of how the lotus feet of Krishna are very dear to devotees. And this is especially relevant to us as Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And that example is the example of Akura. When he was making the journey from Mathura to Vrindavan to bring Krishna and Balaram back to Mathura for the wrestling match. Most of you are aware of that pastime. King Kamsa was sending demons every day to Vrindavan to kill Krishna. But they were unsuccessful. Each and every one of them were unsuccessful. So Kamsa, he devised another plan. Let's get this Krishna and Balaram to Mathura. I'll invite them on the pretext of a wrestling match. And my wrestlers will easily kill these two young boys. He's such a demon, Kamsa. So he sent one of his ministers. His ministers were, well, practically all of them, were asuras, and they had some cities that they could change, their human form into the form of an animal, for example, like a duck, or a snake, or a witch, and in this way, go to Vrindavan and kill Krishna. So, but he had one minister who was not a asura, who was actually a great devotee, Akura. Interesting how history unfolds. This devotee Akura was a minister in the government of Kamsa, for a particular reason, I'm sure. So he asked Akura, you take this chariot, you go to Vrindavan, and you invite these two boys, Krishna and Balaram, back to Mathura for the wrestling match. So Akura, this great devotee, he was very happy, because he would get darshan of the Lord. So on the way to Vrindavan from Mathura, with a wrestling match, Akura is thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord. It's Srimad Bhagavatam 10:38-17. He says, Apyangari mule patitasya me vibhu. When I have fallen at Krishna's feet, that Almighty Lord will place his lotus hand upon my head. For those who seek shelter in him, because they are greatly disturbed by the powerful serpent of time, that hand and those lotus feet remove all fear. We're all fearful in this world. Where do we take shelter? Take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, because this verse describes, by taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, all fear is removed. And even if we can't come to the temple and take shelter of these beautiful feet of the Lord, you can get that same shelter by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Why? Because our acharyas say that fear personified is afraid of the holy names of Krishna. Now, as Akura got closer to Vrindavan, he started meditating on what he would do upon arrival. So why is this interesting to us? Because all of us are encouraged to go to Vrindavan. It's one of the 5 angas of devotional service. The principal activities: chanting Hare Krishna, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, associating with devotees, living in a holy place like Mathura or Vrindavan, like this. So we're all encouraged. Prabhupada has invited us. He constructed the Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, and he invited devotees and people from all over the world. It was a significant event in the history of this great country of India, that Prabhupada established a temple in Vrindavan. In fact, next week we're going to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the opening of the Krishna Balaram temple. So we want to go to Vrindavan, but Prabhupada often said going to Vrindavan, you don't accomplish that by buying a plane ticket or taking a train or a taxi. That's not actually going into Vrindavan is a certain mood. One has to have a certain consciousness, Krishna consciousness. So we want to prepare ourselves for entering into Vrindavan by following in the footsteps of those who have gone before us, pure devotees. So this pastime of Akura, entering into Vrindavan, is very significant for all of us. So as he's getting closer to Vrindavan, we want to listen very carefully. What did he do? As he did, we will do. So he was meditating. He thought, it's described in the Bhagavatam, he thought, when I get to Vrindavan, I will at once alight from my chariot and bow down to what? The lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. That's the first thing he's going to do. So next time you go to Vrindavan, when you're on the plane and you're on the train and you're in the taxi from Delhi, you think, I will alight from my chariot, well, my taxi, and I will immediately bow down to the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. Why specifically Krishna and Balaram? Because Prabhupada established our temple. He called it the Krishna Balaram Mandir, because Raman Reti, where we got the land, that was the place of the wrestling matches of the cowherd boys, the sands of Raman Reti, cowherd boys. So Prabhupada aptly named it the Krishna Balaram Mandir. Gornitai, Krishna Balaram, and Shri Shri Radharashama Sundar. So, when I get out of my taxi, I will bow down to the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. And he went on, enlightening us. Their feet are meditated upon by great mystic yogis, striving for self-realization. I also offer my obeisances to the Lord's cowherd boyfriends, he says, and to all the residents of Vrindavan. This is Gaudiya Vaishnava. Now, I was reading that Akura, so much detail, right? Love is in the details. We have so much detail in Krishna consciousness. I often say to people in the West, you're talking about love of God, but how can you love someone you know nothing about? Tell me something about God, I say to our, with all due respect in the West. Oh God, he lives up there. Okay, anything else? Well, if I don't worship him, I'll go down there. Anything else? Yeah, he's God. How can you love someone you know nothing about? So the beauty of Bharat, of this great country of India, we have a wealth of knowledge about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his incarnations, and his devotees, and his abodes, and his address, and what he likes to eat. Everything. Detail. Love is in the details. This is how we can awaken our love for Krishna, especially by hearing this Amala Purana. I'm giving a class just about his lotus feet. This is a 4-hour class. No, I'm just kidding. I can speak for hours about just the lotus feet, just the lotus toes, the toenails of Krishna. We have so much information, and that is a stimulus for ecstatic love. We're blessed. You are blessed to live in this country because you have access to this knowledge. And now the world is blessed because Srila Prabhupada went to the West to tell people about the toenails of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Akura, and listen carefully because you want to follow in his footsteps. One who says he's my devotee, not my devotee, Krishna says, but one who says he's the devotee of my devotee, he's my devotee. This is the way we enter, by following in the footsteps of a resident of Vrindavan, like Srila Prabhupada. One of my godbrothers told me that Prabhupada told him at an intimate moment, one of his secretaries, he said, I did not want to come to this nasty place, this material world, but Krishna ordered me to go. And he said, you just go down to the earth planet. These are Prabhupada's words, Krishna's words to Prabhupada. You just go down to the earth planet and you write books on the science of Krishna consciousness. I'll arrange everything else for you. That's true. So we want to go to Vrindavan. My main reason to going to Vrindavan is because Prabhupada's there. I would, rather than go back to Godhead where there's no Prabhupada, I would rather go with him to Patala Loka, preach. In fact, one of my godbrothers, Adi Shakar Prabhu, a French devotee, he was a new bhakta, and Prabhupada was giving darshan to all of us at our new Mayapur community, our farm community, 1974, I think, or 75. And this devotee said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, where are you going to go when you die? Hey, well, you can't ask the spiritual master a question like that. No, he's a new bhakta. So Swamiji, where are you going when you die? Prabhupada said, I plan to go to Patala Loka to continue preaching the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I want to follow him wherever his lotus feet are going. One time a devotee said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I just want to follow you all over the world. Prabhupada said, well, these two lotus feet are traveling very quickly around the world, so you have to keep up with me, these lotus feet. So by following Prabhupada's lotus feet, we'll end up where? Ultimately in Goloka Vrindavan. And also Akura. So Akura, here's the details. Love is in the details. Akura reached Vrindavan at sunset. I never knew that. He reached, we've heard he go, all right. So if you go deeply, you mine this treasure house of Bhagavatam. So many details as a stimulus for ecstatic love. He reached Vrindavan at sunset. And the very first thing that Akura saw was Krishna's footprints. Because they're everywhere. Why are they everywhere? Because Krishna is running around, footloose and fancy-free with his cowherd boyfriends and his cows and meeting his gopis in the forest at night. His lotus feet are like everywhere in Vrindavan. So it's the first thing he saw. One reason they're there is because, it's described the gopis. Even now I see in your country, the ladies, they sweep with the broom. So gopis, one of their sevas, one of the dham sevas, one of the ways of worshipping the dham is to sweep the dham of the vines and the leaves that fall from the desire trees. So gopis are always sweeping the kunjas, the groves of Vrindavan. But whenever they come across Krishna's footprints in the dust, they back off. They don't disturb them. They bow down to those lotus feet with all the transcendental markings on those feet. They don't disturb them. They would never, this is our Lord's lotus feet. So therefore, because they're never sweeping the lotus, there's imprints of Krishna's lotus feet everywhere. They don't disturb them. And out of love for Krishna, they preserve those lotus feet by carefully sidestepping away. In fact, all the residents of Vrindavan respect and adore. That's a nice word in English. They adore. My mom used to say, son, I adore you. Mom, come on, I'm 16. Son, I adore you like a little baby. Adore is a nice word. So all the residents of Vrindavan, they adore Krishna's footprints. How do I know? If you say something in learned circles, you're all learned devotees. You're studying Gita and Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. When you say something, you have to back it up by reference to Shastra. So Bhagavatam 10:21-10 says, Vrindavanam Sakhi Bhuvo Vitarnoti Kritim Yat Devaki Sutta Panambuja Labda Lakshmi. O friend, Vrindavan is spreading the glory of the earth, having obtained the treasure of the lotus feet of Krishna. Wow. O friend, Vrindavan is spreading the glory of the earth, having obtained the treasure of the lotus feet of Krishna. Vrindavan obtained the treasure of the lotus feet of Krishna because Krishna is playing all day in the pastures, so his lotus feet are everywhere. O friend, Vrindavan is spreading the glory of the earth, having obtained the treasure of the lotus feet of Krishna, the son of Devaki. The peacocks dance madly when they hear Govinda's flute, and when other creatures see them from the hilltops, they all became stunned. So Sanatana Goswami has written that because in Vrindavan, Krishna always goes barefoot. Remember? No padukas. He always why? Because his cows don't wear shoes. So what he said to Maya Yasoda, why I should wear shoes? So he always goes barefoot. Therefore, everywhere you go, there is footprints. And Sanatana Goswami says, this makes Vrindavan more glorious than Vaikuntha, where Lord Vishnu wears slippers. Sanatana Goswami, one of our great acharyas. Vrindavan's more glorious than Vaikuntha, because in Vaikuntha, the official kingdom of God, Krishna wears padukas, slippers. So finally, upon seeing Krishna's footprints, which this was his meditation, he was just going to see his Lord for the first time. So he wanted to do it in the proper etiquette. First the feet, then the waist, then the chest, then the lotus face. So he's thinking of the footprints. So upon finally seeing Krishna's footprints, Akura set the example for all of us who are going to Vrindavan next time. He explained, this is the dust of my master's feet. And what did he do? He got off the chariot and he rolled and rolled and rolled in that dust, probably saying, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Oh Maharaj, are you saying that when I get to Vrindavan, in my nice dhoti and my kurta and my sari, I have to roll in the dust? Yes. Because our founder Acharya means one who sets the example. Prabhupada said on this matter, he actually says in Krishna book, chapter 38, I found it just in time to give this class. I was reading Krishna book, and I came across this passage in chapter 38. Prabhupada saying to all of us, as soon as one reaches the boundary of Vrindavan, he should immediately smear the dust of Vrindavan over his body without thinking of his material position and prestige. Wow. Instruction. So next time you get out of that taxi, remember, Intraduna Maharaj came to Pune. What did he say? He didn't say anything. No, I remember. He said we have to get out of the car, mummy, and we have to roll the dust. And you do that. And Narottam Das Thakur, he has sung in a celebrated song. Vishaya Chairi Kabe Shuddha Habe Nam. When will my mind be purified after leaving the contamination of material sense enjoyment? Only when my mind will be purified after leaving the contamination of material sense enjoyment shall I be able to visit Vrindavan. So we're covered with some material desires, and we don't want to go to Vrindavan in that way. We want to become purified so we can appreciate Vrindavan. So that material contamination will go by chanting Hare Krishna, by taking prasadam, by dancing in ecstasy, and by rolling over and over and over and over in the dust. You just get up like that. Actually, I've seen sadhus, while they're rolling, they take pinches of the dust and they eat it. So this pastime of Akura shows the proper mood and action when we come to Vrindavan. And maybe we're not going to see the footprints because our vision is tinged. We need spiritual eyes. But believe me, Krishna's footprints are everywhere. But the Lord is so kind that even without that spiritual vision to perceive those footprints, still you can see a few of those footprints with your material eyes in Braj. For example, I'll just tell you because, well, you want to see the footprints. No, Intraduna Maharaj came, he talked about where are all the footprints? I'm in Vrindavan. Well, one example is halfway up Nandishvara hill, there's a flat rock upon which Krishna sat on 5,000 years ago. And the acharyas described that at that time Krishna was, this was quite subtle, Krishna was enthralled by his own spiritual potency in the form of Vrindavan's forests, rivers, lakes, hills, mountains, and many creatures. The blackish Jamuna reminded him of Sri Radha's long braid. The blossoming flowers of her enchanting smile, and the playful birds of her restless, magnetic eyes. Well, thinking in this way, Krishna could not contain his ecstasy, and as a result, his body became so warm that he melted the stone that he was sitting on at Nandagram, leaving an imprint of his lotus feet for all to see. So when you go to Vrindavan, where do you go on Prikrama? Let's go to Nandagram, halfway up the hill. There's that flat rock that Krishna was sitting on, remembering Sri Radha, and his feet melt. And there are the feet. And you can put your head on those feet and be blessed. Not so long ago, I was in Bihar, and I went to the Jharikanda forest. I wanted to see that place where Mahaprabhu chanted through the jungle, and he made the lions and tigers and bears and snakes and everyone chant, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. We went there. We traversed into the jungle, and there's a small temple there, and there's a couple of sadhus who live there. You can see the imprints of the animals' feet on the ground where the kirtan was, because the ground also melted in ecstasy because of Mahaprabhu's chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. We saw the elephants, but we saw the tigers and the deer right next to them, because in CC it mentions by chanting the holy names, these animals became free from envy and fell in love with each other on the transcendental platform. So the deer were embracing the tigers and they were dancing. I saw the tiger's footprints. I saw the deer's footprints. I saw the snake. And I saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's footprints. He was 7 feet tall. His feet are this big. I'd never seen them before. They're great austerity. With great difficulty, went into the jungle. It's still jungle. In fact, we wanted to go further, and our guide said, no, there's tigers, and your chanting will not make them dance in ecstasy. I saw Mahaprabhu's foot, and I bowed down. I put my head there, and one of the rocks that made up his footprint went in my head. And I pulled it out, and I put it in a kavacha that I wear everywhere I go now. And I have a scar from the footprint of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki. Usually you get a scar, you want to do some Botox and make it go away. Not this scar. So he melted that stone. So that imprint upon that hill, it's called the imprint of Krishna's lotus feet, Charana, upon this hill, Pahadi, has made that particular place famous as Charana Pahadi. So when you go to Nandagram, Baba, where's Charana Pahadi? Oh, just over there. You put your head on the feet of Sri Krishna. You can see, just like Akura. Actually, there's 5 places in Braj that are called Charana Padahadi, where you can see the actual footprints of Sri Krishna. You can't see because we don't have those eyes to see yet. Krishna says to Arjuna, I give you divine eyes to see my universal form. We need the blessings of Guru, Gauranga, and Vaishnavas to see these things. But until then, we can still see Krishna's footprints at 5 places in Vrindavan. You mark this, you all in your notebooks right now. At Nandagram, at Chota Baitana, at Govardhan, and Kamyavan, and there's one on Chandrasena Parvat, and one below Chandrasena Parvat. Anyway, you can listen to the recording. And when you go, I'm going to Vrindavan, what are you going to see? There's 60 million holy places. Yes, 60 million holy places in Vrindavan. So some will say, where are you going to go? I'm going to go to the 5 places that Indradumna Maharaj said, I can see the lotus feet of Sri Bhagavan, Sri Krishna. Yeho! So our Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada emphasizes the importance and the benefit of worshipping Krishna's lotus feet in 2 verses in Padyavali. Padyavali is the verse book of Sri Rupa Goswami. Just like those of you who are scholarly, you have a little book with the verses you're memorizing. Like Vaisheshika Prabhu, my godbrother, he's got a big book with all the verses he's memorized, since he started Krishna consciousness. He's a shloka wala. He has those verses. So Rupa Goswami, his favorite verses, he put in a book called Padyavali. I carry that book everywhere. Padyavali. And there's 2 verses in which he reveals to us the benefit of worshipping the lotus feet of Krishna. He writes as follows: O Madhusudan, a wise person nullifies any sins he may have done by serving your lotus feet within his heart. But one who rejects your service gets sinful reactions, even though he may not have done any sinful deed. And the second verse, not by wearing saffron cloth, not by restricting food or other sense activities, not by living in the forest, not by discussing philosophy, not by observing a vow of silence, but only by even the slightest beginning of devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Govinda, who enjoys pastimes on the Jamuna River's wide banks, can a person curtail lust, the influence of Cupid, Kamadeva. So many things we're doing. If you just worship the lotus feet of Krishna, Cheto Dharpana Marjanam, these things are washed away. Now, I won't go on too much longer because, you have to celebrate your day here in Maharashtra. By having more kirtan, etc. The marks on Krishna's lotus feet. More detail, so much detail. The marks on Krishna's lotus feet are described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his book called Sri Rupa Chintamani. Krishna has certain marks which distinguish him from others' feet. He has these beautiful marks. They're described in Sri Rupa Chintamani. Therein he writes that Krishna's feet are decorated with 19, bear in mind, 19 wonderful symbols. On the left foot is a fish, a half moon, a triangle, 4 water pots, a cow's hoof print, Cupid's bow, 2 concentric circles, and a conch shell. On Krishna's right foot are 11 marks, an octagon, 4 swastikas, 4 rose apples, not green apples, 4 rose apples, a thunderbolt, a banner, an elephant goad, a lotus, a vertical line, an umbrella, a disc, and a barley corn. So when you go to Vrindavan, maybe you'll get spiritual vision, you'll see Krishna's footprints there, but make sure there's a vertical line, an umbrella, a disc, and a barley corn. That'll be Krishna. And Vrindavaneshwari, we might as well mention because the divine couple. Anapayani means she's never separated from Krishna. She has distinctive marks on her lotus feet as well, although we only see them on, what is that particular day we get to see her lotus feet? Gopastami. She has 19 symbols on her feet. On her left foot is a half moon, a creeper, a bracelet, a flower, a flag, an elephant goad, a lotus flower, a vertical line, an umbrella, a disc, and a barley corn. And on Sri Radha's right foot is a fish, a spear, a chariot, a club, an earring, a sacrificial altar, a mountain, and a conch shell. And our acharyas say that these marks on Radha and Krishna's footprints help the gopis to find them when they're wandering around somewhere in Braj. So today I'd like to conclude with Srila Prabhupada's beautiful words from his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 11th chapter, verse 26. Such an appropriate way. Just like when you're in a musical concert sometimes, that you have to end on a high note. Da 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 da. So here is a beautiful, appropriate way to finish on a high note, discussing the lotus feet of your devotee, your deities here, your beautiful deities. This is Srila Prabhupada encouraging us. The pure devotees are always hankering after the lotus feet of the Lord, which have a kind of honey that is transcendently relished by devotees. They are like bees who are always after the honey. Sri Rupa Goswami, the great devotee Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, has sung a song about this lotus honey, comparing himself to the bee. He writes, "O my Lord Krishna, I beg to offer my prayers unto you. My mind is like the bee, and it is after some honey. Kindly, therefore, give my bee-like mind a place at your lotus feet, which are the resources for all transcendental honey. I know that even big demigods like Brahma do not see the rays of the nails of your lotus feet, even though they are engaged in deep meditation for years together. Still, O infallible one, my ambition is such, for you are very merciful to your surrendered devotees. O Madhava, I know also that I have no genuine devotion for the service to your lotus feet, but because your lordship is inconceivably powerful, you can do what is impossible to be done. Your lotus feet deride even the nectar of the heavenly kingdom, and therefore I am very much attracted by them. O Supreme Eternal, please, therefore, let my mind be fixed at your lotus feet, so that eternally I may be able to relish the taste of your transcendental service." Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki. About Srila Rupa Goswami, Prabhupada referred to him. It's one of our great acharyas. I'd like to conclude glorifying him with this beautiful verse. Shirupasya padashvada, Shirupasya padayar iha, bhavat yeva sada tasmat, Shirupasya padam shraye. In this world, the constant sweet experience of Shri Rupa Pada, the feet of the beautiful looking Krishna, certainly happens through Shri Rupa Pada, the wonderful poetry of Sri Rupa Goswami. Therefore, I take shelter of Sri Rupa Pada, the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, thank you very much.